Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well here on this Monday morning. What the date today? 15th of September, 2025 for episode 486. We're almost to 500 of this bad boy. Thanks for being a part of it with us. However many times you've seen the show, hope you stay with us moving forward when we hit that 500 and on here at Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com, Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We go about an hour each day. I'm here with you 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fenchman's here with you on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, I'm with Jeff Mann. So you listen to this show for an hour from about 12 to 1 each day. Then you take a little bit of a break, have some lunch, coffee, tea, whatever you do, maybe a Red Bull, Rockstar, you get the point. And then from 2 to 5 Eastern, you listen to the Elite Sports Show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio with Jeff Manns. I'm not here on Wednesdays because I'm with Jeff over there on Wednesdays. Hopefully you get a chance to listen to Justin Fenchman and Russell Clay on at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Sunday nights on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. We've also got the Tuesday night live stream over at FantasyGuru.com. We've got the Friday night live stream, which says DFS live stream over at FantasyGuru.com. We've got Jeff Mann's podcast. We've got Armando Marsal's podcast, Justin Fenchman's podcast. Just go to FantasyGuru.com at the top of that page. Click on the Elite Plus tab, and you'll see all the shows, including this one, so you can catch up on all the stuff you might have missed. You can also find us by typing Fantasy Sports Daily into wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us there. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily. And then the three places you can watch the show live or on demand. If you're watching us live, you can leave comments and questions that we can address throughout the show. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Twitter X @FantasyGuru site, and Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Any of those three places, those comments, those questions can be left. And let's go. What are we talking about today? Well, it's a Monday, and this is the one day that I'm here with you that I don't talk baseball. We used to talk only baseball on Monday. Now we're talking only football on Monday because obviously we have to review what has happened previously on the week of football. Jeff Mann's put out a TikTok video, like a 5-minute thing, what happened. You've got Armando Marsal's article over at FantasyGuru.com reviewing the data. We'll be reviewing the Sunday action for week number 2 of the NFL season right here, right now at FantasyGuru.com. And Fantasy Sports Daily. We're reviewing that right now, and then Jeff Mann's obviously hit it up for 3 hours on the Elite Sports Show from 2 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, we do half baseball, half football. Wednesdays with Justin Fenchman, there's some basketball, there's some football, there's some baseball, a little bit of mixture of things. That's kind of the general plan we have for you. All right, let's do this. So before we jump in here, I just wanted to say something. And again, we'll review all the Sunday action here just in a brief moment. It's already getting a little frustrating. Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, maybe all of you are subscribing to FantasyGuru.com. Remember, just click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you got any questions, send a note to FantasyGuru.com at support@FantasyGuru.com. But get signed up for the DFS, seasonal wagering, any of the football products, all the football products over at FG. Maybe a lot of you used our advice and you're really good at drafting and you put together a terrific team. Okay. And for those of you that have done that, and it happens, you dominate the competition. Maybe you made a preseason trade too. It happens. Kudos to you. On the flip side, what I fear is happening, and I know it's happening because a lot of people ask me questions too, is too many of you are doing too shallow of leagues. I've given advice on start sits for 2 weeks now. We're not even into week 3 of the NFL season yet. And I've already told 75 people to bench a top 25 wide receiver and to bench a top 20 running back. What are we doing? You got to stop doing 10-team leagues, folks. You got to stop doing leagues with 2 starting wide receivers instead of 3. You think you're giving yourself... I've given the same speech for the baseball season. You think you're giving yourself an edge. You're not giving yourself an edge by doing a shallow league. In fact, you're kneecapping yourself. You're handicapping yourself by doing a shallow league versus a deeper league. You listen to this show. You listen to Jeff on SiriusXM. You subscribe with us over at FantasyGuru.com. You get all this knowledge. Spend all this time and energy and effort to do good work. And then you look at your bench and it doesn't look any different than anybody else's because you're in a 10-team league that starts 2 wide receivers and everyone's got an all-star squad. You should never, ever, ever be benching a top 20 running back. You should never be benching a top 20 wide receiver ever. And I tell numerous people on a weekly basis to do just that because they got running back 6, 9, and 13. Which one do I sit? Well, number one, you should be playing all three, but and then they'll say, oh, by the way, I've got running back 19 as well. I've got wide receiver 2, 9, 14, and 16. Which one do I? Just so we're all aware, the difference between wide receiver 14 and 16, there's no difference. We'd all like to think there is on a weekly basis. There's not. I don't know which one of these guys is going to get 6 extra yards. I don't know which one of these guys is going to slip a tackle for an extra 9 yards. You don't know. Jim doesn't know. Jennifer doesn't know. No one knows. So it's frustrating to me. It must be frustrating to you. And then you end up making the wrong quote unquote decision because you're benching somebody that should never be benched. So, I mean, Ethan says this here. I'm in a 2 wide, seems like a big issue in one of my, it's a huge issue, Ethan. And the funny thing is, we've talked about it on the show. I've written about it and everything. 3 wide receiver leagues have been the industry standard, meaning this is what every article is written about. It's what every auction advice is about. It's what every decision is made when we're giving draft advice in the preseason. It's what the manifesto is based on. 3 wide receivers has been the industry standard for literally 25 years. Since I started full-time in this space, way back then, 25 years ago, it was 3 wide receivers. NFL teams start 3 wide receivers. The days of 2 wide receivers, it's 1959. NFL teams' base set is 3. Some teams obviously do 4, right? There's even times where they threw 5 wide receivers. But the base set in the NFL is 3 wide receivers. For those of you doing 2 wide receiver leagues, you are literally living in 1986. It's not what the NFL teams do. It's not. And if we're trying to replicate what the NFL teams are doing, not to mention if you go to PPR, those support pieces have value anyway. So if you're in a 2 wide receiver league, you're almost in a non PPR league. You're almost just playing touchdown roulette. And you're causing yourself to bench guys. Again, let me say this clearly. 3 wide receivers is the industry standard. Every article written is based upon 3 wide receivers. Every rankings given is based upon 3 wide receivers. Everything we do at fantasyguru.com is based on 3 wide receivers because that has literally been the industry standard for 25 years. You want to play in 1986? It's up to you, but you're making it harder on yourself. You're not making it easier. You're making it more difficult on yourself. You have less of an opportunity to take advantage of your good trade, of your smart draft, of your astute pickup on the waiver wire because you can't play these guys. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, Alan says the default leagues. Yeah, Yahoo is. I think it's the ESPN's default league too, setup too. Change it. Go in there before the draft. Beep, 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 bop, boop. Change it. You don't have to just click OK and join a league that has messed up settings. Change it. So again, I mean, it's really frustrating to me because I feel bad for you. I feel bad. I can't give great advice when I'm telling you to bench guy 19 because you have guy 17. Guy 19 should be starting every week. I'm starting in my league, guy 39 every week because I'm in 14-team leagues, right? So I would love to have this problem. I actually wouldn't want to love to have this problem. We talk all the time about removing opportunities on a weekly basis to screw things up, removing decisions on a weekly basis. Do the depth chart, set your lineup. You can't do it if you've got running back 17 and 19 you're trying to decide every week, or wide receiver 20 and 21 every week. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to make the wrong choice. And at the end of the day, if you just had played one guy every single week all season, you probably end up ahead than where you get going mixing and matching. It's the truth. So really think about that next year. Really think about that next year. Don't join these auto leagues. And if you're folks, because Ethan said it, it's a big issue in one of his leagues. Don't be in the league then. All of you listening to the show, all of you subscribing at fantasyguru.com, listening to SiriusXM, you're serious about this. Don't allow the people you're playing against to gain an edge on you because you can't take advantage of your knowledge base because you're starting such a small group of players. Does you no good. All right, let's go. Let's get into the game action. Cleveland Browns get destroyed by the Baltimore Ravens 41-17. I mean, this is through 2 weeks now. The Ravens have annihilated the opponent in terms of offense. They obviously didn't win the game against the Bills. That's 2 40-point burgers, if I'm not mistaken. Or did they get 38? Whatever they got last week. They're averaging 40 points a week right now. Lamar Jackson's a superstar, 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, fumbled and he recovered it. So that's 2 weeks in a row he's dropped a ball. 11 carries for 23 yards. DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown, almost had 2 touchdowns right on his 2 catches. DeAndre Hopkins played 10 snaps. Mark Andrews, 1 catch for 2 yards. Could have had a touchdown, didn't pull it in. This team is averaging 40 points a week, and there's questions all over the place other than Lamar Jackson in the fantasy space and Zay Flowers. It's really fascinating. Really fascinating. Lamar Jackson doing some serious action. On the other side of things, Joe Flacco struggled. Big surprise. Dylan Gabriel came in and he looked fine on his series. Whatever, who cares? Let me pull up the numbers here where we at. Because I know everyone's in on Judkins. That's the big storyline with the Browns talking about their backfield. Here's the snap count. Judkins, who basically hadn't been part of the team, right, for the entire preseason. Judkins ended up leading the team here. 10 carries for 61 yards, doubling basically everyone else on the team. He had more carries than Sampson, or he had as many carries as Sampson and Ford combined. Sampson had that big week 1, unfortunately, was an afterthought in week 2. Did have a receiving score, so if you were forced to start him, you got something. We're in a messy scenario now because of the following reason. Though Judkins is the guy that looks best on paper based upon the numbers yesterday, Judkins played 1 more snap than Dylan Sampson, and he played 14 fewer snaps than Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford still played the most snaps, 35 to 19 to 18. He ran 24 routes, which is more than the 19 combined routes of Judkins and Sampson. Judkins' role should continue to grow. That is the expectation, and I think that is very reasonable, of course. Does that mean he rises to level playable next week? Again, this week, he's part of 300 guy. He was part of a 3-headed backfield. So we'll have to watch and see if we can get any more news moving forward. But again, he didn't do anything all offseason with this team. I was actually kind of surprised he was on the field as much as he was yesterday. So I think we're moving in the direction of feeling better about starting him. But right now, I don't think we're feeling good about that in week 3. Jacksonville and Cincinnati, if you've been living in a hole, Joe Burrow hurt his toe. And we're hearing 3 months with surgery. 3 months is the kind of the timeline, December return. So, this is basically, and you're welcome, Tony C. Appreciate you. This is why Ray Flowers does not, I don't play a lot of best ball. If you're playing best ball, I get it. But if you're talking seasonal leagues, standard redraft leagues, all that, this is why I don't personally feel the desire to handcuff my quarterback and wide receiver. I know a lot of people draft that way. Like that's their plan on draft day. If I get the number 1 wide receiver, the number 2 wide receiver, my quarterback, cool, right? Cool. But it's not a plan for me. I know a lot of people, it's a plan for them. Joe Burrow, T. Higgins. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, obviously. That's the plan a lot of people did. They took Chase as the first pick. They then took Joe Burrow in the 4th round. Here we go. Well, Burrow's out now. And I saw a question in Discord over at FG. Remember, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. A question about, what happens to Jamar Chase. Well, if you have Jamar Chase, there's nothing you can do. You're not trading Jamar Chase. Okay. Jamar Chase is still a wide receiver 1. We saw yesterday he caught 14 balls for 165 yards and a touchdown. Does he take a downgrade with Browning instead of Burrow? Yeah, of course he does. Absolutely, 100%. Does he take a downgrade and become wide receiver 19? No. He's still a guy you start every week. He's still a wide receiver 1. We're not trading him on the low. You're still firing him up. Can we expect him to be the outright Triple Crown superstar he was last year? No. Got to pull that back a little bit, but he's still Jamar Chase, and he's still going to get 10 targets a week. I also saw a question about Mr. Brown in the backfield. Should I be concerned about Brown, I think was the question. Brown yesterday, 2 catches for 18 yards, 16 carries for 47 yards. Brown has completely dominated the backfield. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't look this up before the show, I think Brown is the only running back on the Bengals that has a carry in 2 games. I don't think another guy's had a carry. Is there a concern with Brown? We said all preseason, and you can check the tape. As Jeff Mann says, you can check the tape on this. We said all preseason that people were drafting Chase Brown too highly. We had him ranked as a running back 2. We had him ranked lower than everyone else in the fantasy space, basically. It's been 2 weeks. The quarterback got hurt. Okay. But the fact is, Chase Brown is a volume whore, and I say that in the best possible way. He gets all the work. So it doesn't matter if he struggles on a per touch basis. He gets all the work. Have I been disappointed by his, 2.5 yards a carry or whatever? Sure. I didn't think it'd be that low. But again, you have to understand that ultimately Brown getting 95% of the touches, that's all that matters in the end. You start him every week. If you expect him to be running back 8, you weren't following the rankings over at fantasyguru.com. Giants versus Cowboys. Wow. 40-37. I think I heard that this was the most back and forth game like in the history of this rivalry. 77 points. Cowboys look like they won the game. Then Malik Neighbors scored that touchdown. Looks like they won the game. Then Aubrey hit a 712-yard field goal. Then the Cowboys went on and won in overtime. By the way, Justin Tucker was the reason the Ravens won so many games over the years, right? Brandon Aubrey is the same thing. And dare I say it, it's because he needs another 8 years of this. But is he a better weapon and more important to his team than Tucker ever was? Wow. They were talking on the broadcast. They just got to get the ball to the 40-yard line. Like, all they got to do is get this guy in range of a 60-yard kick. It's really remarkable. In terms of the performances on the field here, Javonte Williams has solidified his spot at the top of this running back group. 18 carries for 97 yards and a score, 6 catches for 33 yards. This is the workload we anticipate Jaden Blue getting in the second half of the season. Significant work. Right now, it's all Javonte Williams. Michael, Mr. Sanders is in there a little bit. Who cares? Javonte Williams is the guy we're starting now until he starts to slow, until there's an injury. I'd still hold Jaden Blue if I can. Still would. But this has been a better than anticipated start for Javonte Williams in the start of the year here for the Cowboys. On the other side of things, Russell Wilson, here we go. Why was Jackson Dart in there for a couple of plays in the fourth quarter yesterday? Like, what? Come on. Like, what? Russell Wilson throws for 450 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you're doing gimmicky things with Jackson Dart. Like, what are you doing? And that's not why they lost the game or anything like that, but come on. Love it. It's great football to watch when Russell Wilson's going in the back at field and he's chucking up these moon balls, right? It's beautiful. It's fun. It's exciting. And he did it again yesterday. He had a massive game, solidifying his role as a starter for the Giants at the moment. Malik Neighbors, 9 for 167 and 2. Wan'Dale Robinson's the guy to talk about here. Wan'Dale Robinson, 8 catches for 142 yards and a touchdown. This is the best game of his career. It'd be astounding if he ever matched it. Wan'Dale is not going to do what happened yesterday ever. He did yesterday, but it's not going to happen. 50-yard catches is not his game. Realize that on the touchdown, if you haven't seen it, go watch the video. The Cowboys were playing zone, and Wan'Dale just ran down the middle of the field, and they had like a triangle of defenders around him, but no one covered him. He just ran right between all of them, and Russell Wilson just... Wan'Dale Robinson is still Mr. Line of Scrimmage. He has seen a lot of volume here, and that's been really interesting. Darius Slayton basically played every snap yesterday and had 3 targets. They gave Slayton a $36 million contract extension in the offseason. Not part of the offense. So right now, the top 2 wide receivers are Robinson and Neighbors. You got Theo Johnson, got 5 targets. He caught 4 of them. Wan'Dale Robinson's got a real connection with Russell Wilson. Not anticipated, but it's there. So those 2 guys are going to continue to cook. Look, I look a little red today. What's going on with this camera? Right? Image adjustment. Let's see if I can bring this to a little saturated. Now I look white. You can never adjust these things properly. Anyway, don't expect Wan'Dale Robinson to be the guy he was yesterday. He's still a PPR flex option. He's still a 10-point-a-week guy. Huge game, though. Huge game there for him as a receiver. The Lions and the Bears played, and what are you going to say? The Lions throttled the Bears. Jared Goff went for 334 yards and 5 touchdowns. He only threw 28 passes. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 3 touchdowns, all of them less than 10 yards. He was the guy around the goal line. Jameson Williams had that long touchdown. He went 2 for 108 and a touchdown. Brock Wright had the touchdown while Sam Laporta caught 3 balls for 26 yards. So frustrating if you're a Laporta owner to see the backup tight end who hardly was on the field get the touchdown. Gibbs rebounded, had the 94 yards and a score. David Montgomery, revenge game, getting back in the end zone against his former team, the Browns. I think that, Tesla is really intriguing. He made another fantastic one-handed grab for the Lions. He played more in week 2 than he did in week 3. He's starting to trend upward. If Jamison Williams were to miss any time, Tesla to the moon, right? That's kind of the way you got to look at it. So Tesla, for those people looking to stash a receiver, if he's still on the waiver wire, he might not be after catching that touchdown in week 1, though it was his only catch. He only had one catch yesterday, so okay. But you can see the athleticism and the talent, and Khalif Raymond's not going to hold him off if something were to happen to either, to especially Javonte Williams. On the Bears side of things, this is really interesting. Rome Odunze led the team in targets. He almost doubled the target total of DJ Moore. He had 7 catches to 5 for Moore. He had 128 yards to 46 for Moore. He had 2 touchdowns. Odunze and Caleb Williams have a legitimate connection. I know a lot of people talked up Odunze all preseason. The interesting thing is Moore has been fine, but Moore not their number 1 wide receiver. And I see all this talk. Odunze's passed him and everything. I'm not saying DJ Moore, who's been around for years, who's had, 5,000-yard seasons, who got a huge contract, is now the number 2 wide receiver because Rome Odunze's had a nice week and a half. Right? Let's not get crazy here. But for those of you that took DJ Moore on the border of the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 ranks, this is disappointing. And it's concerning. I don't think that if we had DJ Moore, we're holding DJ Moore. It's not the worst idea in the world to kick the tires on the DJ Moore owner on the other side if they don't, if they're frustrated, because you might. DJ Moore is still catching 85 passes this year. Like, let's not get crazy here, okay? So, something to think about with DJ Moore. I'd be interested there. Colston Loveland has done nothing in 2 games. Yesterday, didn't catch his target. Despite what we have seen recently, like Brock Bowers last year, tight ends succeeding in the NFL in their first season doesn't happen. You got to go back to like Mike Ditka. Like, it doesn't happen. There's like one of the 3 greatest rookie tight end seasons of all time was Mike Ditka. Like, it just doesn't happen. And the early returns on Colston Loveland are terrible for those people that, he was coming off the board as a tight end 1. Not by my advice, but by some people's, just horrible. And then DeAndre Swift fumbled yesterday, got in the end zone. Monangai was on the field. He was the backup yesterday. Johnson is healthy, but he didn't see an offensive snap. So it does look like Monangai is the guy as the number 2. So if you've had the Johnson, and I know I've talked to people about Johnson, Monangai would be the guy to have behind Swift. That's the way it looks like they're going to play it here in the early going. Realize that if Swift were to go down for an injury, I don't think either Monangai or Johnson is getting 17 touches a week. I think they would split the backfield. And realize that Monangai yesterday, all of his production was in the fourth quarter when the game was over. So he's not at all a standalone option. He's just a support piece for Swift. The Patriots defeated the Dolphins 33-27. The Dolphins, actually showed some offense. Before we get there, the Patriots, Drake May went for 230 and 2. The big storyline here was twofold. One, Kayshon Boutte, who came into this game with back-to-back games of 100 yards last season, final week, first week this year, had 1 target yesterday. He had a touchdown, so good for him there. But what is going on? Mac Hollins led the receivers yesterday in targets with 2. And we see this across the land in the NFL right now, and it's really distressing because some teams' offenses, they operate their offenses, going back to what we were saying earlier, like it's 1986. Like, how do you play an NFL football game, score 30-plus points, and have your leading wide receiver target total be 2? Like, how? The bigger storyline, I think, and Boutte's still going to be, he still was on the field and played all the snaps and ran the routes and everything like that. So if you picked him up last week, you're super disappointed in the effort this week, but don't go dropping him this week. It still looks like he's got a chance to be their number 2 behind Diggs. The real issue we got to deal with here is the backfield. And it was only 1 week, but for 1 week, the Patriots backfield looked like the Denver Broncos. We had 3 guys involved. Stevenson, look at this. Stevenson had 16 touches. Stevenson, who was bad in week 1, who we all thought would be sent to the support role behind Henderson in week 2. It's that was universally what people thought. Henderson ended up being the 3rd running back. Antonio Gibson, who returned a kick for a touchdown, by the way. Antonio Gibson made this a 3-headed backfield last week. He had 2 more touches on the ground than Henderson did. He actually had overall. So here's the touches: 16 for Stevenson. Gibson had 6. Henderson had 5. So again, and I've said this to a lot of people that have asked advice, and we've talked to in FG and everything, building teams with rookies is dangerous. Is Trevion Henderson going to lead this team this year in rushing? I'm going to say yes. Through 2 weeks, it's been terrible. And it was distressing yesterday, again, to see Antonio Gibson so involved in the offense. If you have Henderson, you just hold. I saw people build teams with Harvey and Blue and Henderson and Caleb Johnson. Like, that was their backfield. And it's like, ooh. Like, nothing you can do right now but hold with him. Stevenson, he's productive. He had 5 catches for 88 yards yesterday. Ran the ball 11 times for 54 yards. He's going to still be part of this offense. On the other side of things, things were better for the Dolphins. They got those 27 points, and Tua went for 315, a couple of touchdown passes and an interception. The offense moved the football, right? Tyreek Hill had 6 catches for 109 yards. Waddle 5 for 68 and a touchdown. He always blows up the Patriots. It's remarkable if you look at Waddle's career numbers against the Patriots. But going beneath this rushing attack for them is awful. But Ray, Devon Achane had 107 points yesterday. I know. Devon Achane caught 8 balls for 92 yards and a touchdown. He was a wide receiver 1 as a running back. What did he do on the ground? 11 carries for 30 yards. Ollie Gordon, 1 carry. They can't run the football. And this goes back to the second half of last season. The Dolphins cannot right now run the football. They've got injuries on the offensive line, sure. But we're going on half a season of football where they can't run the football. Doesn't matter with Achane because he's so involved in the passing game. But Achane is a smaller guy. He has been hurt at times already in his NFL career. And, 19 touches yesterday. Like, hopefully you're in a PPR setup with him. But even if you're not, he got 100 scrimmage yards. So, you're fine. But the fact is, they can't run the football. And until they run the football, they're not out of the woods in terms of the concerns about their offense. The Niners defeated the Saints as expected, 26-21. As discussed last week, the Niners offense probably wasn't going to look much different with Mac Jones under center. Mac Jones does his best. Brock Purdy, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. They win a football game. The receiving core, Ricky Pearsall's been fine through 2 games, but he's just been fine. He had 4 catches for 56 yards yesterday, which is nice, but Juwan Jennings, even without Purdy on the field, Juwan Jennings had 10 targets yesterday. So he played through injury, caught 5 balls for 89 yards and a touchdown. Pearsall, again, support piece there. McCaffrey, 13 carries for 55 yards, 6 catches for 52 yards and a touchdown. Doing his best. Devon Achane. Actually, Achane obviously is doing Christian McCaffrey, but you get the point. When you go 50-50, which is what McCaffrey did, receiving, running, he had a good game. Got in the end zone, caught the 6 balls. Kendrick Bourne, actually 3 catches for 32 yards, showing a nice connection there with Mac Jones back to their days in Patriot land. On the tight end position, 8 targets to the tight end, 6 catches to the tight end. Would have been nice if that was George Kittle. It's not. Problem was yesterday, Tonjes had 4 catches for 31 yards. Farrell caught 2 for 15 and a touchdown. You don't want to be using either one of these Niner tight ends right now. It's nice to see the Niners utilizing them, but you don't want to be using them in the fantasy space. On the Saints side of things, Rattler was fine. He did what he does, and that is dump the ball off. He did a good job avoiding the turnovers, 207 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Again, no depth here, nothing exciting here. Chris Olave turned 10 targets into 54 yards. That's 2 straight weeks where he's had double-digit targets and really done nothing. Rashid Shaheed scored a touchdown. He had a 39-yard play, but they got to get him more involved over the top. Juwan Johnson had another big week. And here's the truth. Juwan Johnson, 5 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown. Juwan Johnson is a thing when Spencer Rattler is the quarterback. When they go from Spencer Rattler to Tyler Shuck, Johnson probably is no longer a thing. So it's really tied to the quarterback play here because all Rattler does is dump the ball off at the line of scrimmage. That plays right into the tight end and Juwan Johnson. When Shuck comes in and he'll be scattershot and he'll be flinging deep balls, that's when we'll get excited about Rashid Shaheed and less excited about Juwan Johnson. But 9 targets for Johnson, 9 targets on 34 passes. That's a massive, that's almost, it's over 25%. I don't have my calculator out. It's almost a third. A fourth. Yeah, it's a fourth, 25%, 36. But so the die has been cast on Juwan Johnson. He was out of last week anyway. And there are some tight ends that are injured now. So maybe it was a better decision than not to add him to your team. Okay, the Bills defeated the Jets 30-10. This game was an absolute demolishment. It was worse than it looks on the scoreboard as the Bills moved to 2-0 and the Jets fell to 0-2. Nothing happened in the passing attack for the Bills because they didn't need to pass the ball. Allen went for 148 yards, 6 carries for 59 yards on the ground. That's as bad an effort as you're going to get for him. He hurt his nose. He got his helmet and arm and the whole thing, but he's fine. It's as bad an effort as he's going to give you all year this year. And the reason is because they destroyed the Jets. They didn't need him to do anything else. Cook went nuts, 132 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught a pass, and this is really interesting through 2 weeks. Last season, Cook was 14, 15 touches. This year, he's around 20. I don't think it's going to continue. But if it does, that would drastically change our outlook because we thought on Cook coming into the season that his touchdown rate is going to regress. Hasn't yet. Touchdown rate was going to regress. And if he doesn't pick up more touches, which didn't look likely, well, he's getting more touches. So we'll see how that goes. Ray Davis had 9 carries of his own yesterday for 24 yards. Elijah Moore had a rushing touchdown and a little bit of trickeration there. So really boring, disappointing game. Not much to take away from the offense because they just killed the Jets. Now on the Jets side of things, Justin Fields is in the concussion protocol. We'll see if he's available this week or not. Tyrod Taylor, who stylistically is similar, which is the Jets did a good job of getting a backup quarterback similar. Like it's not Justin Fields to Joe Flacco, right? Those 2 quarterbacks yesterday completed 10 passes for 83 yards. Like the Jets were horrible yesterday. They got smashed. Turn the page, move on. I've seen people say, oh my gosh, Breece Hall. Don't worry about Breece Hall. He'll be fine. It was a one-off that got destroyed. Breece Hall still had 10 carries. Brandon Allen had 2. He still had 2 catches. Braylon Allen didn't catch it. Like he's still easily the guy you want in this backfield. He's gonna be fine. The Jets, though, need to figure out what's going on at the quarterback position. Though, like I said, Tyrod Taylor is a capable veteran quarterback. He's not a flunky. He's not some new guy. Can use his legs a little bit. He'd be in play as a quarterback too in super flex leagues if he was starting. We'll continue to follow that and see what information we can glean to get a better understanding of what the plan is in week number 3 for the Jets. Seattle defeated Pittsburgh. This was a shocker. I think it's surprising that they won. It's certainly surprising they won by 2 touchdowns, 31-17. Seattle goes across the country to play in Pittsburgh. And both teams now 1-1. Sam Darnold went for 295, 2-2. He's fine. He's fine. What he really did a good job of was targeting his top 2 guys. Kupp got 9 targets, 7 catches. And Jacob got 10 targets, 8 catches. Both guys went for 90 yards. That was really exciting. Now the moment you've all been waiting for. What happened in the backfield? Yeah, my cat Dexter's snoring in the back. Kenneth Walker dominated. Zach Charbonnet did shit. There it is. For all the Jack Charbonnet truthers, 15 carries for 10 yards. Kenneth Walker, 13 carries, 105 yards, and a touchdown. And he's the only one of the 2 guys to catch a pass. Was Charbonnet still involved? Yes. Did Charbonnet still have more carries than Walker? Yes. Was Charbonnet wholly, completely, and 100% ineffective? Yes. Is Kenneth Walker the back you want to own? Yes. Do we have Kenneth Walker ahead of Zach Charbonnet in the rankings this year at this week in fantasyguru.com? Yes. Who's been the better fantasy performer through 2 weeks? Kenneth Walker. So, Sal, by the way, yes, Dexter Kitty would have loved to have been woken up by that. Yeah, he would. He's sleeping back there on the chair in the other side of the office at the Dexter Kitty on Instagram. He doesn't post much, but his brother at Ollie Aussie Dog, he posts a lot. But yeah, so hopefully you have Kenneth Walker. Now, here's it to just lay it all out honestly. I told multiple people in setups to sit Kenneth Walker. Well, Ray, why? Because we had Kenneth Walker like at running back 25. And like we talked about earlier, some of you have 4 top 25 running backs. I don't know. I would have never benched Kenneth Walker in any league I have him in. And I didn't bench him in the league I have him in. I know Jeff Manns didn't bench him in any league. If you got 4 top 25 running backs, maybe you benched Kenneth Walker this week. But what are you going to do with that? But Kenneth Walker should have been started this week. We said so in the rankings. We said he was better than Charbonnet. And he not only was better than Charbonnet yesterday, he dominated compared to Charbonnet yesterday. And I think that this is yet again further stamp of approval here that Kenneth Walker is the back to own with the Seahawks. On the Steelers side of things, Aaron Rodgers went from throwing 4 touchdowns in week 1 and everyone thinking he was great to, oh boy, did not look good yesterday. He shaved. I don't know, like Aaron Rodgers without a beard. I don't know. I guess it kind of be like me without a beard, but a couple of picks, threw for 203 yards, only hit 18 of 33 passes. Didn't look good, didn't look sharp. The offense didn't really work. Didn't have the swagger. LT says, I've got Walker, wasn't able to get Zach Charbonnet. Is he worth trying to get? Sure, he's worth trying to get. All depends on the cost. If one of your league mates took him in the 7th round, which is probably what was happening toward the end of draft season, even with his struggles here yesterday, are they going to trade him for anything other than a 7th round player? You're not paying that price. If they are treating Zach Charbonnet as running back 40, sure. Running back 36, okay. They're looking at him as running back 25. The price is still going to be too high. So if you can get him, yes, but you got to be wary of the price there, Lorenzo. Back to the Steelers. Yeah, Rodgers looked bad. They got the touchdown, the revenge touchdown to DK Metcalf. He didn't do anything. 3 catches for 20 yards and that touchdown. This offense is, some people got excited about the offense of the Steelers after week 1. This looked bad yesterday. Jaylen Warren is dominating touches in the backfield, 14 for 48 yards. He was also involved as a pass catcher, 4 catches for 86 yards. He is clearly the number 1 back. Gainwell is clearly the number 2 back. And then Caleb Johnson, who everything draft capital wise, logic wise, schematic wise, everything said that Caleb Johnson at some point takes over at least as the early down back. And we probably get Caleb Johnson being very Najee Harris-like, with Jaylen Warren continuing to be Jaylen Warren. That's what everything said throughout the entire preseason here. Then late in the year, we saw that the team, signed Jaylen Warren to a contract extension. It's like, okay, that's nice, but does that really mean that they're really down on Johnson? Maybe it meant they were more down on Johnson than we thought. But now we have a very clear point. Caleb Johnson's returning kicks, because that's what backup running backs do. He's returning kicks. You probably saw it if you didn't see it. He has a kick, ball goes through his hands. And Caleb Johnson, who, again, it's your job, you're professional, you got to know what's going on. I am pretty sure, without ever looking at this, and I don't know, maybe I'm totally wrong on this too, has Caleb Johnson returned a lot of kicks in his life? Caleb Johnson, who's been in the Adonis since he was 6 years old on a football field running people over, probably hasn't returned too many kicks. Regardless, he's returning the kick near the goal line, puts his hands up, the ball goes through his hands, barely touches his hands, but that's irrelevant because the kickoff is a live football. So whether he touched it or not doesn't matter. The kickoff is a live football. The ball goes past him, over his shoulder. He doesn't go after it. Here comes Seattle covering the kick, right? They dive on the ball behind him in the end zone for a touchdown. So Caleb Johnson, I mean, again, I'm extrapolating here, but if the coaching staff is already kind of down on a guy and that happens, a lack of understanding of what's happening on the football field, a lack of hustle, things got really bad yesterday for Caleb Johnson. Let's just put it that way. The Rams and the Titans. The Rams defeat the Titans as expected. 2-0 in the Rams. Titans 0-2. 33-19 was the score there. On the Rams side of things, it was more the same. Matthew Stafford was good. 298, 2-1. Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, both of them caught 6 balls for 90 yards. Adams had a receiving touchdown. Puka Nacua had a 45-yard rushing touchdown. A little bit surprising to see Adams be the one to draw the 13 targets to 9 for Nacua. A little bit surprising. Nothing to worry about. Both guys are still, top 25 every week. The Rams just like the matchup better that they saw with Adams. Both these guys heavily involved. No one else really doing anything as pass catchers. Davis Allen had a touchdown, but that was an 8-yard catch. On the rushing side, Kyler Williams again dominated. The touchdown, though, goes to Blake Corum. Disappointing, right? 17 touches on the ground for Williams, 2 in the air. That's 19 touches. He's fine. He's still the running back 1, but Corum did get in the end zone. A little bit of a ding for those of you using Kyron Williams. On the other side of things, and I see that mentioned up here. Where is it? Chris D said it. Chase Brown and Tony Pollard are in the same boat, getting all of the touches, but the results are not great. You're totally correct, Chris. Eventually, the touches lead to production. We all know that. So you just got to stay the course, and okay. But it is really disappointing when Tony Pollard is just like Chase Brown. Great call, Chris. legitimately seeing 90% of the snaps and 90% of the touches, like legitimately. Yesterday, Tony Pollard was the only running back with a carry, like Chase Brown was. 20 for 92 yards, very solid effort. Didn't get in the end zone, though. And he only had one target, which he didn't catch. So despite dominating the offense, because his team only threw the ball 33 times yesterday. Like Tony Pollard was the guy on 40+% of the offensive plays yesterday. And he ran for 92 yards. He catch 9 fantasy points. That sucks. Keep firing him up. Nothing you can do there. Ward, he was good. 175 yards and a touchdown. The touchdown, you've probably seen the highlights where he's running the wrong way, running to the right, and he throws the ball way across the field to the left, which you're never supposed to do. Eric Imanor, I got to get this guy's name right. Imanor. I got to work on this. He looked really good yesterday. He made a nice grab on the touchdown catch. Before that, he caught the ball against his head. 4 catches for 56 yards and a touchdown. When you see a rookie wide receiver and a rookie quarterback starting to jive with each other early in the season, start to get excited about what the future could hold. Calvin Ridley matched Imanor with the same 6 targets, 3 catches for 57 yards. So he actually had 1 more yard, but he had 1 fewer catch and obviously didn't get in the end zone. That passing attack really been stuck in the mud here through 2 weeks for the Titans. Carolina, Arizona. In the game the officials tried to give to the Panthers. Bryce Young, and I feel Bryce Young is competent. Number 1 picks are not supposed to be competent, right? And you see Bryce Young, Kyler Murray looks small. Doesn't Bryce Young look tiny? I was joking yesterday. I'm like, I think I was bigger than Bryce Young when I was 14 years old. I'm not exaggerating. I think I was. Bryce Young is tiny. And he gets hit, and he makes bad decisions, and he turns the football over, and he lost a fumble yesterday, threw another pick. He threw another pick that got turned back on, or he had a fumble on another play. It's a fumble or a pick? I'm confused now. I was watching it late in the day. On a penalty, so he should have had another turnover. Yeah, he threw for 320 yards and 3 scores. He also threw the ball 55 times. This team couldn't move the football consistently or effectively. They didn't beat a team in Arizona that the referees tried to give them the game late with all these penalties and everything like that. I just don't have much. Xavier Legette had 8 targets for -2 yards on a catch. It's the worst 8-target game in the history of the NFL. He had minus yardage on 8 targets. What the hell are they doing? Hunter Renfrow had 2 touchdowns, like 7 catches, 48 yards, and 2 scores. Okay. If Hunter Renfrow gets 9 targets, your team is lost. If Hunter Renfrow is catching 7 passes, your team is lost. If Hunter Renfrow is your red zone threat, your team is lost. The Carolina Panthers are lost. They're not winning football games at all. They're leaning on Hunter Renfrow. Oh my God. Ted McMillan, 6 for 100. Good game there. Chuba Hubbard got in the end zone, luckily, again, as a pass catcher. 5 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. He didn't do anything on the ground. 10 carries for 38 yards. Hubbard is going to touch the ball 15 times a week as he did yesterday, and he's going to start every week. So that's the Carolina Panthers offense. This is just messy. On the other side of things, Kyler Murray, I've said my piece on Kyler Murray. There's no point for me to keep repeating myself. I watch this guy and I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. I don't like his demeanor. I don't like his game. I don't like the numbers. I just don't like Kyler Murray. Is he going to be quarterback 11 at the end of the season? Probably. Did I draft him anywhere? No. Would I want to play him anywhere? No. No. Trey McBridge, as they call him on the Elite Sports Show, 6 for 78. Solid game there for him. But, the leading wideout on this team was Marvin Harrison with 5 targets. Michael Wilson, 2 targets. Greg Dortch, 1 target. Kyler Murray threw the ball to the wide receiver 8 times. And I know they got way out ahead and they were just trying to win this game and milk the clock and do all that kind of stuff. They barely did. But you're throwing the ball 8 times to wide receivers and you're trying to win football games consistently. It's not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Just not going to happen. James Conner looked like James Conner. Got in the end zone. Caught a pass. He really didn't do anything. Trey Benson actually looked pretty spry. 3 carries for 14 yards. Benson also had 4 catches for 30 yards. He does have a role in this offense, and he's one of the few backup running backs out there that you can consistently look at and say he's going to get 6 to 10 touches a week. It looks like that's the plan. If Conner goes down, Benson to the moon. Right now, he's just a support piece for, again, a team that won a football game, but Carolina's not good. Colts defeated the Broncos 29-28. Colts moved to 2-0. The Broncos are 1-1. This is another game where it just I mean, what this game down the stretch too was wild, right? The fourth quarter. Bottom line is the Colts want to move to 2-0. On the Denver side of things, Denver continued to do the obnoxious 3 running back thing. Let's look at the snap count here to make sure I got that while I'm sharing. Oh, come on. Update this, guys. There we go. Dobbins played 27 snaps. Harvey played 19 snaps. Beatty played 13 snaps. So all 3 guys involved. And it's even worse in terms of the routes these guys ran to participate in the passing game. 10 routes for Dobbins, 11 routes for Harvey, 9 routes for Beatty. So, I mean, Dobbins is the guy. He got in the end zone, so it's all good there. 76 yards and a touchdown. He had 14 carries. The other 2 backs only had 6. So what we know is that Dobbins is going to carry the ball. Beyond that, we have no idea what this team's doing in the backfield. Somehow they played a game where, Sutton had 4 targets, got 1 ball. He drew a couple of penalties and all that, but like you lost a football game because your number 1 wide receiver had 1 catch. Well, there you go. Evan Ingram, that's supposed to be the joker, this dynamic weapon on offense, 1 catch. But Troy Franklin got 9 targets for 8 catches, 89 yards in the score. If you missed the touchdown, Colts didn't know he was on the football field. Kind of easy to score when you're not guarded. He got in the end zone. Mims got in the end zone. Troutman was even more wide open. Like the Colts had no idea Adam Troutman was even playing football on that touchdown catch he had. But yeah, Bo Nix just is not through 2 games. He had 3 touchdowns yesterday. It's fine from a fantasy perspective, but on the Colts side of things, Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor was running down that right sideline yesterday, and I saw the next gen stats on Taylor. He hit the highest speed for a running back in the NFL since like 2020, which is a great sign that he's fully healthy. 25 carries for 165 yards. Looked fantastic. He had a 68-yard run. As a pass catcher, 2 catch, 50 yards and a touchdown. He had a 43-yard catch. On his touchdown, he was uncovered completely. So this game had a lot of guys just running and waving their hand to the quarterback, throwing me the ball because I'm wide open. So Taylor didn't do anything. It was a wheel route to the running back and all that. But overall, that's 215 yards I can't count. 215 yards of total offense and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, fantastic effort there. And Daniel Jones, 316 yards and a touchdown. He had a rushing score. I have Daniel Jones as my 3rd quarterback in my Dynasty League. It's only a 1 quarterback league. I took him late in the draft, hoping. I did have Daniel Jones on my Dynasty team before we decided to redraft this year. So I just got him back because I believed in him so much. Not true. But Daniel Jones looked really good through 2 games. I mean, there's no disputing that. Tyler Warren led the team with 79 yards, 4 catches on his 7 targets. Solid effort. Pierce had 68 yards. Josh Downs was more involved, 6 catches, 51 yards. Pittman predictably was slower, 4 catches for 40. We mentioned the touchdown went to Taylor. Patrick Surtain hurt his ankle yesterday, so he was out of the lineup a little bit, but he played most of the game, I think, for the Broncos there. But he helped to limit Pittman and some of the other guys a little bit. But another solid effort for a team that won a football game. Way to go, Colts. A Super Bowl rematch between the Eagles and the Chiefs, and in the words of Ted Schuster, that was a boring game. I'm not going to disagree. That was a boring game. And Chiefs won 2017. Takeaway here on the Chiefs side of things, they're 2-0. Who cares? That's all that matters. They're winning football games. That's all. Yeah. But from a fantasy perspective, we got some issues here. This team struggled to consistently throw the ball down the stretch last year. And it doesn't matter when you've got a quarterback rushing for double-digit touchdowns and a running back running for 2,000 yards, right? Okay, we get that. And maybe Jalen Hurts gets his double-digit rushing touchdowns again because he had a rushing score yesterday yet again. They did like 6 tush pushes. Barkley ran for a touchdown, 88 yards on the ground. He's going to be successful again. But they can't throw the football. And this was supposed to change when they changed offensive coordinators in the offseason and all that. We're 2 games in right now, and this team hasn't thrown the football at all. Yesterday, Hurts threw for 101 yards on 22 passes. He completed 15 of 22 passes, which is really good. For 101 yards? Less than 5 yards a target? They got to figure this out. I mean, Devontae Smith, 4 for 53. A.J. Brown, 5 for 27. Sure, they were without Dallas Goedert, but 14 targets to those 2 wide receivers. should give you 10 catches, 120 yards, and a touchdown. Gave us 9 catches and 80 yards and no scores. Like this, if your offense is we got to throw a slant to AJ Brown and hope he breaks a tackle and goes 65 yards. If that's your passing offense, now again, 2-0. They kind of did a good job last year too. They won some football games if I remember right. I don't know how they just went into Kansas City and won a football game in Kansas City, which is one of the hardest places in the land to win a football game. But this passing attack needs a lot of work, and it's troubling right now for twofold. One, it's troubling because Smith and Brown obviously were highly drafted. It's also troubling for Jalen Hurts, who continues to do things on the ground, continues to be effective. But if this team is throwing the ball for 160 yards a week, which I don't think they're going to do, come on. But it's got to be better than that. Even if he has 12 rushing touchdowns, they got to pass the ball better than this. On the Chiefs side of things, I don't know. What do we talk about here? Pacheco and Hunt, same touches, same snap count. There is no running back to use in Kansas City. Neither running back has separated themselves from the other back. Neither back has done anything. And hopefully you didn't draft Isaiah Pacheco. I know he's going off the board as running back 28 or 30, like he was the third running back. Hopefully you're not the person that drafted him, because if he can't separate himself from Kareem Hunt, which he couldn't last year, and he's again this year, and Kareem Hunt is as boring as it gets. He is just a guy, and Pacheco can't do anything to separate himself from him. So, in the passing attack, I mean, look, when you're missing all the pieces they're missing, it's difficult. Kelsey had 4 for 61 to lead the team. He did also have a ball bounce off his arms that turned into an interception. So there was that. Mahomes' interception not earned. He threw for 187 yards and a touchdown. He also had 7 carries, for 66 yards and a touchdown. He was basically Jalen Hurts yesterday, right? You don't see too many games either where Patrick Mahomes goes 16 for 29. This is another passing attack that's just stuck in the mud. I mean, that's just, and Rashee Rice being there is a huge piece. He's number one wide receiver, and he creates a lot of problems and mismatches, and he helps move the chains and all that. So he's a significant loss. Xavier Worthy's also out. Okay, so there are excuses with the Chiefs. There's not with the Eagles. They got their top 2 guys. Chiefs didn't. If you chase the points with Marquise Brown, you got 5 catches for 30 yards. But that's another team that, again, distressing start for this team through the air. Will it get better? It should, especially when Worthy and Rice are back. It could look completely different, but it's shades of 2024 right now, and it's a little disappointing at the early going for the Chiefs. Finally, Sunday Night Football. I mean, did anyone bother watching this game? Like, oh my, this is 22-6. The Falcons won. Both teams now 1-1. This is a game that neither team wanted to throw the football, and when they did, they didn't do anything. In the case of the Falcons, well, that's because they had 38 carries between Algier and Robinson. Those guys ran for 38 carries and 220 yards, 143 yards for Robinson, 76 for Algier. Yeah, you don't need to throw the ball when that's happening. But this is, Michael Penix didn't do anything. Drake London had the shoulder issue, but he was back out there on the field yesterday, so it wasn't that he didn't have his weapon there. Darnell Mooney played, so it wasn't like his number 2 and 1 and 2 wide receivers weren't available. They were. They didn't have to throw the ball to win the game, so they didn't. So Penix was an absolute nothing burger. 3 for 49 for London after averaging like 13 targets a game, literally, with Penix. Absolutely disappointing. Mooney went for 2 and 20. Bijan Robinson was fantastic, but Tyler Algier got in the end zone. And then there's Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was their leader in targets, their leader in catches. 4 for 37. He didn't do anything. Not a bad start through 2 weeks here for Kyle Pitts. A little bit of juice last week. A little bit of involvement this week. Maybe he ends up being that tight end one after all. But that was just, horribly disappointing effort from an offensive perspective. They just didn't have to throw the football. Now, on the other side of things, we made a big joke about this on the Wednesday show on Elite Sports last week when J.J. McCarthy was announced the Player of the Week. And then they're interviewing him before the game and all this kind of stuff. And then J.J. McCarthy goes out and plays like a rookie quarterback and plays like ass. Vikings could do nothing on offense. They lost Aaron Jones to that hamstring injury. If that obviously is the case, is Jordan Mason to the moon. He'll probably get 18 touches a week, I would think. If Jones is indeed out with the hamstring injury. So not that Mason shouldn't be on the waiver wire in your league. If he is, run there immediately. Can't imagine he is. He shouldn't be on the waiver wire. We all know that, but just give it a look. Some of you are in shallow leagues. But more concerning is this passing attack. Again, McCarthy was player of the week last week, right? Because he led a comeback victory in the fourth quarter. Okay, good for him. But we're now a couple of games into this season for him, and he's thrown for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and three interceptions. And I mean, he's thrown for 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So that's 2 consecutive games where he's failed to reach 160 yards passing, and he's thrown an interception. Not good. He's completed 24 passes in 2 games. Not good. They've thrown the ball 41 times in 2 games. Not good. 3 catches for 81 yards for Justin Jefferson, barely keeping himself in double digits, barely. Not what we want to expect to see. Adam Thielen, who they brought in to be the second wide receiver early in the year with Jordan Addison on the sidelines with the suspension. Adam Thielen's played 2 games, doesn't have a catch. And TJ Hawkinson had 1 catch yesterday. TJ Hawkinson has not been part of the offense through 2 games. So we can talk all we want about the struggles with the Eagles or even the Chiefs in the passing attack, but this Vikings passing attack is in dire straits right now. Dire straits. Remember, Hawkinson was drafted as a top 5 tight end. Jefferson was drafted as a top 3 wide receiver. J.J. McCarthy has looked like crap through 2 games as a passer. And the numbers have been probably crappier than he's looked. They're very lucky to be 1-1. We'll see, but they need to retool. They need to sit down and figure these things out. And, despite all the positivity around J.J. McCarthy heading into the game last night, 41 passes and 301 yards in 2 games is not going to get it done. It is not, and that's not 1986 football. That's 1956 football. Like, that's not going to get it done. They got to figure that out. There's too many weapons there. There's too many pieces there. There's too much goodness in a Kevin O'Connell offense for that to be the case. But rough start there for the Vikings. So that's a review of Sunday football. We will do that every Monday here on the show. On Tuesdays, tomorrow, we'll review Monday Night Football with Armando Marsal. We'll talk a little bit about players to keep or cut, waiver wire kind of stuff. We'll do that too. First half of the show, we'll talk baseball because I know some of you are still playing baseball. I'm still playing baseball. So we'll do that on Tuesdays. We'll do that Thursdays and Fridays. Again, Wednesdays is Justin Fensterman. He'll do some baseball, some football, some basketball. Keep it interesting. I see a question here from Marcus M. Trade Ted McMillan and Stephon Diggs for Garrett Wilson or Mr. Pickens of the Cowboys. 1 second, I'm going to take a sip of water. We are not doing this trade, Marcus. Is Wilson better than either one of your 2 guys? Yes. Is Pickens better than either one of your 2 guys? No, I think McMillan's right there with him. I think McMillan for Pickens is fair. I'm not throwing in Diggs to do that. I think that McMillan and Diggs for Wilson, it's heavy pay. Because again, remember, we don't know who the quarterback is. I feel much better about Garrett Wilson with Justin Fields than I do with Tyrod Taylor. So we don't know short term what the outlook is for this offense. We don't know who's going to be under center. We also have to think that the passing attack and the passing situation, as I mentioned earlier, Keyshawn Butte, who's looking like he's ascending, had 1 target yesterday. Like, Diggs is going to be the guy that's catching 5 passes every week. And if provided this is at least a PPR setup, it doesn't say here, but provided it's a PPR setup, there's something there. I would look at Ted McMillan as a low-end wide receiver 2. I would look at Diggs as a low-end wide receiver 3. Though Wilson is a low-end wide receiver 1. Again, uncertainty there, plus we're giving up 2 to get 1. And then Pickens is a hit or miss low-end wide receiver 2, who's going to have big games and he's going to disappear. And there is always the chance that he flips out on an opponent, that he flips out on a teammate, that he flips out on himself. That guy is as volatile as there is playing for a contract, trying to play nice. Things are going well now. I'm just nervous about George Pickens. So I wouldn't do that deal, either one of those deals, actually, Marcus. I think it's you're not getting enough back for what you're giving up. It's close, but I wouldn't do either one. So thanks for listening and watching, whatever, live or on demand, whenever you get a chance to do it here with the show. Don't forget to go to fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page. Get signed up for the product over there. If you have any questions about what you see or don't see, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Support@fantasyguru.com. Remember, we don't take stardom sit-em questions until Wednesday each week. Remember that you really shouldn't be asking any stardom sit-em questions on Wednesday and Thursday unless the players play on Thursday. That's another thing to remember. Remember last week, for those of you that missed it, on Friday last week, so episode 485, Friday of last week, at about the 43-minute mark, Russell, Clay, and I talked about the, let me make sure that's the right episode. Let me pull this up here. Russell, Clay, and I talked, yeah, it is. So 43-minute mark, episode 485, Russell, Clay, and I last Friday talked about how to handle the running back question and your bench. Because a lot of you are jumping from one backup guy to the next. We had a good 5-minute discussion about that. I would encourage all of you to check that out too if you missed it last week. Hopefully it'll have a little bit of an impact for you moving forward. So go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab, get signed up. Go to the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page to find this show, as well as the other shows on the network. If you got any questions, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Good luck this week. For those of you that are still playing fantasy baseball, if you're in the finals this week or still playing Roto, good luck this week. For those of you playing fantasy football, good luck tonight. Hopefully, whatever needs to happen happens on Monday Night Football. A couple of games that, remember that. Four teams playing tonight, so a big Monday night for those of you out there. And don't forget to listen to the Elite Sports Show 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with Jeff Mans. I'm Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com. We'll see you on Tuesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.